Let's go over the benefits and drawbacks of renting and owning. So starting with renting. Benefits of renting are low maintenance costs. For the most part, the landlord is going to be in charge of all the maintenance, the roof, the siding, if there's a plumbing issue, electrical, and in most cases, appliances are going to be included as well. If something breaks, you call them up and they're in charge of both fixing it and paying for it. You also have freedom to move when you're renting. When your lease is up, you are free to pack up and move wherever you want. Another place, another city, another state, you can just go. And in some cases, even if you're in the middle of a lease, for a fee, you can buy your way out and then you are free to go where you want. And also, benefit of renting, you don't have a risk of loss of equity. If things go sideways, you're not looking to lose a big investment. You can just move if you have to downsize or make an appropriate decision. What are the drawbacks to renting? Well, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. You're helping them build equity and you're helping them in their financial future. You also are subject to rent increases. Those can be small, those can be large, and they can happen every time you renew your lease, and you are not in control of that. You also have a potential of a loss of the lease. If you're in a home, for example, and the owner wants to sell, and they're going to sell to someone who wants to move in, you have no choice but to move out. Also, when you're renting, you're probably going to come across pet restrictions, whether that's no pets allowed at all, or whether that's cats only, dogs only, or animals under a certain weight. Whatever it happens to be, you're probably going to have pet restrictions. And in many cases, pet rent on top of that. And if you're renting, again, you don't have any choice in style. You don't get to paint. Some might let you paint the interior if you paint it back. You don't get to choose any cabinets or any of that kind of stuff. So you're kind of stuck with what the place is. So now owning. So what are the benefits to owning? Well, stable payments. So long as you're not refinancing and raising your payments, the only thing that'll increase your payments will be tax increases. But beyond that, if you get into a loan and you stick with it for 30 years, those will be your payments for 30 years. As inflation goes up, your payments will remain the same. And you're building your own equity. You're not building equity for somebody else. So the more you pay into it, the more equity you have, which is your own long-term financial stability. If you have a mortgage and you're owning, you're going to most likely have tax benefits every year as the tax time comes around. Those benefits kind of equate to the amount of interest that you pay can be deducted from your income and can lower your tax bracket and thus the amount of tax you owe. So it can be a huge benefit and a lot of money in your pocket. If you own your own place, I'm not going to say you'll have no pet restrictions, but you'll have fewer pet restrictions. If you're in a condo or certain cities, they might restrict pets to a certain number or certain breeds. But for the most part, you can do what you want and own what you want. So long as you're not bringing in a cow into your condo. That won't work out well. If you own your own place, you can style it the way you want. You can paint it, you can renovate it, you can remodel it, you can do the cabinets and the countertops the way you want. It's all up to you, however you want to do it. It's your place and no one's going to stop you. And last, what people don't often think about is neighbor stability. If you are in an apartment complex, for example, it's a very transient place and people are coming and going. If you move even to a condo or a neighborhood, you're going to have more long-term neighbor stability, and that's getting to know people, getting to trust people, and having people around you that you can either rely on or hang out with, or just make the place feel more like home. What are the drawbacks to owning? Well, there are a few drawbacks. The cost to move is a big one. If you plan to move and you're owning your own place, there's a lot of costs involved, and that starts with prepping the property. Prepping the property could be simple, or there could be a lot in there. Could be painting, staging at a minimum, could be cleaning, doing a lot of maintenance. So there could be a lot of stuff to do just getting the property ready for sale. And then you have closing costs and taxes. and those are on you. So there is a big cost to move. And depending on the market, right now we're in a seller's market, so you would hope that your home would sell pretty quickly, but then you have to turn around and purchase. So now you're also in a competitive buyer's market. But what if you want to sell in a down market? Now you're going to have a hard time, and that could be really difficult and add up a lot of costs. So it's not quite like renting where you can just get up and say, I'm out, and I go, and away you go. There's a lot involved in moving when you do own a place. You are responsible for all repairs. The roof, the siding, the plumbing, if it leaks, if there's an electrical thing, if your faucet is broken, all of it, it's on you. Not just the fixing it, but the cost of it. And of course, hopefully you can do it quicker, but sometimes if you're pinching pennies, then it could be a little bit before something gets fixed. Now, there are some exceptions to that if you live in, say, a condo where the HOA is going to be in charge of things like the exterior. But for the most part, you're in charge of anything. If it breaks, it's on you. And when you own a place, you have a risk of loss of equity or a risk of loss entirely of your investment. Sometimes things do go sideways, and sometimes people end up losing their homes, and that's unfortunate. But there is that risk of loss that you don't have when you're renting. So kind of to sum it up, there's a lot of benefits and drawbacks to both renting and owning. And there's a lot of decisions to be making if you're deciding whether you want to rent and own and which one's best for you. But I hope this kind of laid it out a little bit. If you have any questions, just hit me up. I'm here for you. Have a good evening.